Rebellions change the course of history, but more fail than succeed. That is why Andor is showing all of the ways that rebellions can fail through many of these last few episodes, particularly in season 2. They're showing how hard and difficult, how much sacrifice is needed for these actually to succeed. But it's only 2 people that truly understand the cost of rebellion. That's Luthen and Saw. With Tony Gilroy being a student of history, it's not a surprise that many of the themes that we see rising up again and again from these failed rebellions are making their way into Andor. For example, in the slave rebellion in the Roman Empire in the 1st and 2nd century, when gladiators, namely Spartacus and a bunch of others, had decided to try and escape and overthrow and cause rebellion, they were initially betrayed before they could even get started, and their numbers were whittled down to just a handful who broke out with kitchen utensils, eventually be able to grow and grow to numbers of over 100,000 as slaves from around the empire began to join them. But that's the problem. When things started to get difficult and hard, many of the slaves began to disband. They went home. They weren't built for this because it was too hard. And eventually, everything came to a head, and Spartacus and the few remaining that left were slain outside of Rome in a very lopsided battle, because this is what happens in rebellions. People are betrayed. People are not committed fully. That's not the only theme that's being pulled upon, because in the June Rebellion in 1832, if you've ever seen the musical Les Mis, you already know what I'm talking about, but riots quickly turned into a rebellion that were eventually completely and totally squashed by a much more organized and larger force. And we see that all throughout Star Wars, really, is this much larger force trying to squash this fledgling rebellion. But we see it even more so in Andor with all these little different pockets of rebellion. But we've also seen in Andor how lies and deception, even speaking particularly about the Gorman people and setting that all up and kind of portraying rebellions in a certain way. And we saw it with the way that director Krennic was talking about all these things, in the way that you spin it, the way you lie about it. Well, lies and deception have always been a part of rebellions, particularly the one when we look at the Peasants' Revolt in England in the 1300s. This is coming after years of oppression against the peasants. The Black Plague has happened, and they're continuing to want to get higher wages, and they're just getting oppressed and taxed and laws put against them to keep them in their place, to the point where they eventually revolt and they take over London. And as a result, they meet with the king who had fled London, and they get a promise. They get promises that their demands of higher wages and less taxes are going to be met. Well, all of that confidence is eventually betrayed, because after the king made these promises, everyone disbands and goes back trusting the king's word, which makes no sense. I don't know why they really did that. All to find out that he's going to kill the leader of the rebellion and claim he never made any such promises. This lies and deception is what we're seeing all throughout Andor. And then just take a look at these last few episodes, where we got a lot of the understanding of the true commitment of Saw and Luthen, how they are willing to do whatever it takes. And we just keep getting shown that again and again. And then we can compare and contrast that with all of these other little rebel pockets that start to pop up. The Mayape Brigade, who were not taught anything about what the cost of this is. And that's really what we're talking about, is if you're not taught the true cost of rebellion, then it is all going to fall apart. It's going to fall apart when it's just a bunch of peasants or slaves or those that have been oppressed who are brought together, who are not trained, who are not prepared, who are not, to borrow the word that I think most accurately depicts this, who are not discipled into this. We've already seen it's not just about getting more numbers. It's not just about getting more people, but you have to know what to do with those people once you have them. You could have a whole group of rebels, but if they're not going to follow a leader, or if they're not going to be truly committed, what are you going to have? You're going to have people betraying and backstabbing. You're going to have people walking away and not staying committed to the fight. If you don't have a true reason to stay committed, then you're going to leave. This is why in season 1 at the Aldhani heist, everyone was really frustrated that Cassian was brought in under the guise of being Clem, and he was a hired mercenary. Why were they so worried about a mercenary? Well, because he's not really in it for the cause. He's just paid to be here, and so if things get really tough, he's just gonna back out. Well, ironically enough, he wasn't the one to betray everyone. That was Skeen, but we're not going to talk about season 1. We're really just talking about season 2. And so when we look at season 2, we see the challenges in the Gorman front. Their unwillingness to truly be committed to what needs to happen. They're not willing to be discipled. They're not willing to be taught by Cassian. They're not willing to be taught by Vel and Cinta. They want to do their own thing, and they think they know what's best. And honestly, this is what's going to push all of this to be an absolute mess. We've already seen how it's a mess with the first heist, but I think it's just going to get worse, that they're not really going to learn from their mistakes because they're not willing to be discipled and taught what really the cost of rebellion is. Now contrast that with the way that Luthen has been dealing with Bix and Cassian and Vel and Cinta, right? He's been treating them, which in some perspectives looks pretty horribly. He's been keeping Vel and Cinta apart because he knows that that's what they need. They need that to be able to stay committed to the cause because their love is going to be stronger than their love for the cause. Or at least that's his concern. Same thing with Bix and Cassian. He sees the weakness in Cassian as a result of him caring more and protecting Bix more than caring about the cause. He's giving up on places like Gorman, but yet being very strong and resolute in caring and protecting Bix. So while it may seem like Luthen is being harsh when he's saying stop thinking like a soldier, think like a leader, or he's saying the things like he is to him, like it doesn't matter if it all burns, it's fine. He's never actually looking out for himself. He's trying to disciple Cassian. He's trying to teach Cassian what the true cost of rebellion is. It costs everything. It costs everything. And Luthen gets it. But also Saw Gerrera gets it in a really interesting way. Because yes, we saw this scene, and this scene is so important, I think, in the building of Saw's character, but also in the understanding of rebellions and why rebellions succeed or fail. And yes, obviously we know that this is a rebellion that eventually succeeds. But if we're going to get to the time of Luke Skywalker in A New Hope, we have to understand that this is the foundation of what's being built. This is why I laugh when people say this isn't Star Wars. I'm like, are you kidding me? The core heart of Star Wars is rebellion. And we see it in so many different ways in A New Hope, in Empire Strikes Back, and the following of the ways that rebellion takes root in different ways in different people. We're just seeing it in a much more concentrated, focused way here in this show. So back to Saw Gerrera. We have this moment where Wilmon Pack is going to move all the dials like safe cracking to get the Rhydonium fuel out of the pipeline, to siphon it all off so that they can have the fuel they need for all their starships to go and do whatever it is they need next. I mean, this is a really important mission so that they can keep going, because they can't just go to a gas station and fill up the pump. They're not going to be allowed to. They are on the run. And so we get this kind of monologue while it's happening that Saw is just rambling on about all these other things. But there's a few lines that he says that are really important to understanding the commitment level that he's trying to convince to Wilmon Pack. He's trying to disciple him. He's trying to teach him to say this is what it means to be part of a rebellion. Now, to some degree, Wilmon is already the more extreme of those that we've seen compared to Brasso, compared to Bix. He's the one who made a bomb ready to use it at Marva's funeral. He's the one who chucked it into a box full of hand grenades, causing all the issues on Ferrix. He's ready to fight. And I'm sure Saw already knows that. This monologue that Saw has that really gives a deep understanding of why Saw is the way he is.
Remember this. Remember this moment. This perfect night. You think I'm crazy? Yes, I am. Revolution is not for the sane. Look at us. Unloved, hunted, cannon fodder. We'll all be dead before the Republic is back, and yet, here we are. Where are you, boy? You're here. You're not with Luthen, you're here. You're right here, and you're ready to fight.
While Saul's going to say revolutions are not for the sane, saying that we are crazy, it's the line right after that I think is the most important. He recognizes his fate. He knows where he's going to go, and there's nothing more dangerous or really important to a rebellion than someone who knows they're dead already. He knows where this is going. He says that the Republic won't be back before they die. He knows the end to this story. He knows where he's going to end up, yet he marches forward. He doesn't run away like the slaves did around Spartacus, leaving him high and dry. He's not going to hide from the things that are coming. He knows how difficult this is going to be. Think about for a moment everyone else we look at. All of the other people that are holding on to love, that are holding on to something, what are they holding on to? That they're going to have something on the other side of this rebellion. Yet it's Saul, and I would argue also Luthen, that no, there's only one way this ends for them. But yet their selflessness to still push forward because they know what they're fighting against needs to be pushed back against. Yet they're going to teach the people around them the same things. They're going to teach and pass on to say, hey, this is what true commitment to rebellion looks like. It's not easy. You can't just get anyone to join in on it. And that's kind of hearkening back to the cafe conversation that Cassian had when he first met one of the members of the Gorman Front. They're kind of just enthusiastic and excited. Said, hey, you want to kind of come join us? Yeah, let's go hang out. Come to my dad's shop. Let's talk about all the, like, almost as if there isn't a danger, almost as if they think they can actually win. And I think that's the true reality of every successful rebellion to some degree, is that everyone involved was all in, but all in, not in the sense of, hey, I'm doing this so that I can see it on the other side, but they're doing it for the sake of everyone else. Like, even think back to the trench run at the Death Star, right? What is the thought about this mission? That it's a complete suicide mission. They're going, they don't know if the generator shield is going to be down. They don't know if they're going to survive. They literally have no clue, but they hop in their X-Wings and their Y-Wings and they head out anyway, because they know this is the only way to stop what's happening. And this is the overall theme of Star Wars. This is the overall theme of Andor. It's this willingness to sacrifice. Are you going to get to a place where you're willing to give up everything? And that's where we're going to see Cassian eventually get in Rogue One. But he's not there yet. He's not Luthen. He's not Saw. He's maybe too sane because he has not yet wrestled with the fact that he's not going to survive this, that Bix is not going to really survive this rebellion. And I think that's part of the beauty of Andor. It's this type of struggle, this innate human struggle that we all have seen repeated time and time and time again throughout history. That rebellions are not for the sane, that rebellions are hard, and the only ones that truly impact all of history are the successful ones where everyone involved is completely and totally committed. And so over these next few episodes, we're going to see more and more of our characters wrestling with this reality, particularly Mon Mothma. And that's something I'm really excited to see. Guys, thanks for being here. As always, my name is Jeremy. This is The Force Fandom. I hope you enjoyed this little video here. If you have, please consider leaving a like on the way out and sharing it with someone you think would enjoy it as well. That would really be the best way to say thank you for this video. I appreciate each and every one of you. And remember, The Force will be with you always.